Chapter 4. I want him to help me cultivate. He thought about how the outside world had become more and more chaotic recently. Sooner or later, the young master would come into contact with some martial arts practitioners. He pondered for a moment and said, "Actually, for practicing martial arts, it is only divided into realms. The so-called first-rate, second-rate, and third-rate are just a group of postnatal martial artists' own subdivision. In fact, they are actually three small realms, which are early, middle and late stage of the postnatal realm. Can you tell me in detail, for example, what characteristics do first-rate and second-rate practitioners have?" Songshi really wanted to know what his physical fitness level was. Daidu appeared at the entrance of the courtyard again. Songshi subconsciously stopped talking. The future path of the family's descendants was already set. If he asked others about the division of martial arts realms, it would easily attract rumors. He immediately came back to his senses. He already had a system. Why did he care about these things? What is it now? I just received news that the exorcism is temporarily cancelled, Daidu said, slightly embarrassed. Why? Songshi was puzzled. This guy had just left. Because the mage is dead. Daidu left behind these words and turned to leave. He still couldn't be bothered to explain, because he didn't know what exactly had happened this time. This was only told to him by the guy who had invited the mage when he went out just now. Weren't those bald donkeys from Jinyuan Temple always quite powerful? How did they Big Smart became interested. Jinyuan Temple was the largest temple in Silken City. Its incense offerings were flourishing, and it had always been a place for high-ranking officials and nobles to worship Buddha. If the mages didn't have any ability, they would not have been able to accept incense offerings in extremely rich and wealthy Silken City. Go and ask. Songshi ordered. He felt that this matter might affect the Song family. If anything happened to the Song family, he would not be able to escape trouble as well. An hour later, Songshi received specific news. The mage hired from Jinyuan Temple had actually drowned in the Jing River. When he was on the way to the Song family, the Jin River and the Yuan River were two rivers that surrounded Silken City. The former had a calm current, while the latter was rather rapid, so only the shipping system on the Jing River was developed. The Jinyuan Temple was located on Jinyuan Island, where the two rivers intersected. When entering the city, the Jinyuan River had the calmest flow. How is it possible for the boat to capsize? Songshi instinctively felt that something was wrong. I hope I'm overthinking. Songshi shook his head. Since there's nothing else, let's go to the New Moon brothel. Young master, most of the girls are resting during the day. Big Smart did not want to go out at this time. He had also vaguely sensed that the Song family was in trouble. He had seen the old gatekeeper many times. He was originally a guard. Although he was old, his body was still in good condition. There was something wrong with the death of the gatekeeper. If not, he didn't believe that the gatekeeper would suddenly die in the early autumn. The last thing Songshi was afraid of was death. Why would he care about danger? You don't know much, do you? They have day shifts and night shifts. Songshi opened a white jade fan and a playful smile appeared on his face. Let's go to listen to the music and watch Zur dance. He wanted to confirm something. The reason why he had exhausted his yang energy in the beginning was not only because of the female ghost, but also because he had gone to the New Moon brothel too much. If it was related, he would rather die many times through this method than be strangled by a female ghost. However, would doing that really consume yang energy? It didn't make sense. Songshi, who possessed some biological knowledge, expressed his confusion. 15 minutes later, an elegant carriage left through the side door. As for why he took the unorthodox path, did he have to let others know that he was going to a brothel? Songshi sat against the soft animal skin. The cold autumn wind was blocked from entering the carriage, making it difficult for him to feel the arrival of autumn. Opening the curtains, the two rows of ginkgo trees beside the road were golden. The fallen leaves dyed the ground the same color, making the outside world look especially romantic. Some admired the autumn scenery as he did, while others cursed the fallen leaves for affecting business. Along the way, there were cars and horses. It was a prosperous scene. The entire city was filled with gold, intoxicating Songshi. 15 minutes later, Songshi arrived at Maple Street, in the south of the city, in a horse carriage. Because this street was planted with many maple trees, once autumn arrived, it would be covered in red maple leaves, hence its name. It was a famous place of romance in Silken City. Restaurants, cloth shops, tea houses, brothels, and other high-end consumer places stood in great numbers. The New Moon brothel was located in the gold-consuming cave. The specially made crescent moon-shaped building was exquisite and simple, without the slightest sense of wantonness. The maidservant in front of the door was dressed in white, and her actions were dignified, making people feel as if they had come to the Moon Palace. Moon Palace is a reference to a Chinese folklore where a palace exists on the moon instead. How pretentious. Every time Big Smart saw these girls pretending to be innocent, he could not help but sneer. You brute, you won't know that this is taste even if you're beaten to death. Songshi pursed his lips and pulled at his long sleeves. He got out of the car with a folding fan in his hand and swaggered out. The maidservant at the door gracefully greeted him and said gently, "Greetings to the 7th young master of the Song family. Do you want to listen to music or watch a dance today?" "Naturally, I will be doing everything. I will first listen to the music pieces before admiring the dances. Then, I'll accompany the beauties and raise my glass to toast the moon." Songshi smiled. "Young master sounds very cultured." The maidservant covered her mouth and chuckled. She turned around and said elegantly, "Please come in, young master." Songshi leisurely followed the maidservant and slowly walked past the carved door into the building. Green smoke from the purple incense burner filled the air, making one feel refreshed. However, this time, he had a strange feeling. There seemed to be many eyes staring at him. It was as if he had become prey and was being targeted by a wolf pack. "Why do I feel this way?" Songshi looked around in surprise. Other than the maidservant and Big Smart, who had followed him over, this place was very deserted. It was like the so-called Guanyin Palace too. Guanyin Palace is a reference from Chinese mid-autumn folklore and refers to the palace that Changer lived in. It did not feel like an ordinary brothel at all. He remained calm and composed as if he had returned home. He walked towards the private room, said casually, "Let Zur do it today." The maidservant apologized, "Young master, Miss Zur isn't feeling well today. It can't see you for the time being." Songshi felt a little regretful. When his body was deteriorating day by day, it started from the moment he met Zur. If he did not look for this woman, it would be difficult to find out the reason. What a pity. I don't want anyone but Zur. Big Smart, you can order one today. I'll just accompany you. Big Smart was flattered and smiled awkwardly. "Young master, I think I'll pass. I can't afford the beauties here." A strange look appeared in Songshi's eyes and he asked curiously, "I've given you a few opportunities, but you've rejected them all. This can't be the real reason, right? Could it be that you're only interested in men?" Big Smart started sweating profusely and hurriedly shook his head. No, young master. I'm a martial artist and want to maintain my ability for a few more years. I can't get close to women for the time being. Just choose one. You don't need to sleep with her." Songshi said righteously. "Life has to be romantic. Don't just practice martial arts all day." "Well, okay." Big Smart rubbed his hands. "Can you get Mei Nian to come out to receive the guests?" The maidservant was stunned. While Songshi and Big Smart were talking, in the heaven-class private room of the New Moon brothel, on a clean jade bed sat a woman who looked like she was carved from a beautiful piece of jade. She was wearing a snow-white silk dress. Her skin was as white as the purest snow, with a small hint of red flush. Her oval face was exquisite and flawless. Her black and beautiful hair fell to her slender waist, and on her simple bun, there was a beaded jade hairpin. At this moment, the bead on the hairpin shook slightly. The woman's long eyelashes trembled as she slowly opened her eyes. Her beautiful autumn-colored eyes were filled with surprise. Why is this person's young energy suddenly so abundant that it's comparable to a cultivator? What happened? Read latest chapters at Wuxia World, site only. The woman's crystal red lips moved slightly. Her voice, although cold, carried a hint of gentleness. She raised her head and looked downstairs. Soon, she laughed coquettishly, her eyes shining. "No wonder, he is actually a rare immortal seedling. It's probably because my spiritual root was stimulated when I was with him that my yang energy increased tenfold. Looks like my luck is really not bad." She stood up lightly and glanced to the side. "You all don't have the right to enjoy such an immortal root. He's mine. I want him to help me cultivate. Don't even think about it." As soon as these words were spoken, the greedy gaze that was secretly sizing up the scene unwillingly retreated. The woman in white raised her head and walked out elegantly like a fairy.